a fungicide treatment, and a lot of times your yield potential is right up to the top.
To learn more, visit askgrow.com. Read and follow pesticide label directions, grain marketing, and other stewardship practices. 2024 Bear Group, all rights reserved.
All right, it is KLOE, KKCI Goodland, and it's time for the birthday calendars. We come up about 7. Don Dawes, happy birthday. Larry White having a birthday. Lori Amthor celebrating. So is Jennifer Sanderson. Adrian Condi, Jasmine Jones, all celebrating. Keelan Sanguinetti and Sarah Miles. Great birthdays today, and I hope all of you have good days and drink plenty of birthday water. All right, thoughts for the day. I've got 2 of them. Laughing is the best medicine, but if you're laughing for no reason, you may need medicine. Okay, there you are. And sometimes all you need is a really good cup of coffee and $5 million. That's it. That's all you need. You got all that figured out. You have a wonderful day. Stay cool, stay hydrated. Don't forget to check on your neighbor and your outdoor pets, too. Oh, look, it's already 7 o'clock.
The Denver Broncos and the Morning Blitz with Ross Volkmer is 102.5. You rock.
With SRN News, I'm Jeremy House in Washington. Last week it was Normandy. Today, President Biden is heading back again to Europe, only this time it'll be in southeastern Italy, where he'll attend the G7 summit. Mr. Biden will push a plan to his G7 counterparts to use the interest from frozen Russian assets to provide up to $50 billion in loans for Ukraine's war effort. Lebanon's Hezbollah has fired scores of rockets into northern Israel to avenge the killing of a top commander. The massive barrage escalated regional tensions as the fate of an internationally backed plan for a ceasefire in Gaza hangs in the balance. 8 individuals from Tajikistan with suspected ties to the Islamic State group have been arrested in the U.S. in recent days. On Wall Street, Dow futures are up by 41 points. NASDAQ futures are ahead almost 27. More details at srnnews.com.
If you're 65 or older, you know this. Seeing your healthcare costs go up and up is frustrating. And maybe you were just notified that your Medicare costs are increasing again, or you're just tired of the massive deductibles. Well, here's some good news. There's a program that can really help with this. It's MediShare 65 Plus. It's an affordable, reliable alternative. You can choose any Medicare provider. You get telehealth access anytime you need it. And MediShare 65 Plus is a low-cost option for those with Medicare Parts A and B, and it fills in the gaps where Medicare stops. MediShare is a Christian healthcare community that aligns with your faith. People actually pray for you, they encourage you, and it's proven too. It's been going strong for over 30 years now. So call now. You can get one low monthly price for up to 10 years. You're not stuck with increasing costs. You can do something about this today. Call MediShare 65 Plus. Find out how much you can save. Call 833-SHARE-55. That's 833-SHARE-55. 833-SHARE-55.
This is the Tri-State News with Curtis Duncan.
Through the CHS Seeds for Stewardship program, Strand Theater Group Incorporated in Sharon Springs is going to receive $10,000 to help complete an upgrade of the theater lobby. This includes new fixtures, equipment, and ADA-compliant restrooms. And the CHS Seeds for Stewardship program supports programs and organizations and projects that are focused on safety, agriculture education, and strengthening and uplifting hometown communities. Also, other news, the state of Kansas has updated drought emergency warnings just before the summer starts to heat up. The Kansas News Service said Ness, Pawnee, Hodgman, and Rush counties in western Kansas were placed into emergency notifications this week as temperatures heat up. The Kansas Water Office says under drought warnings, everybody should be mindful of water usage and less precip is expected.
Now, the Tri-State's most accurate and dependable forecast on You Rock 102.5.
With your updated forecast, I'm staff meteorologist Paul Trombley from the Weatherology Weather Center. Ample sunshine expected today with daytime highs approaching 99. Winds out of the southwest, 8 to 15 miles per hour. Partly cloudy skies tonight, lows dip down to about 67. Lots of sunshine tomorrow. Slight chance of thunderstorms. Highs level off around 98. Temps a bit above average. Friday and Saturday with highs from the low 90s to the mid 90s. Thunderstorms both days. Taking a look at the extended forecast, 96 Sunday, 90 Monday, and 89 on Tuesday. Another look at the short range. We should top out at 99 today. Lows level off around 67 tonight. High of 98 tomorrow. Get up to the minute weather updates from the Weatherology Weather Center. I'm staff meteorologist Paul Trombley on this NWKS radio station. Currently, it's 66 degrees.
Wesley Financial Group is not a law firm.
This story is called The Ugly Truth About Timeshare. If you think you've done your family a favor by buying a timeshare, you need my help. Hello, I'm Chuck McDowell, founder of Wesley Financial Group. 10 years ago, I started helping folks cancel their timeshare. And in the process, started what's now called the timeshare cancellation industry. The ugly truth is when you buy a timeshare, you can't tell me how much it's going to cost or when it's going to end. I recently helped a couple that had their maintenance fees go from $800 to $3,200 a year. They also received a $4,000 assessment for a hurricane that was over 1,000 miles away. Sound crazy? The crazy thing is this never ends. Call my office now. If we take you as a client, I guarantee we'll cancel your timeshare or you'll pay nothing.
Call for your free information kit. Call 800-885-3100. That's 800-885-3100. 800-885-3100.
Keep your ride running at peak performance by scheduling an appointment with The Daves at Hurl Chevrolet GMC in Goodland, Kansas. Hurl's has a full-service service department where they'll work on all makes and models, not just GM. They do tire repair and replacement. They'll make sure your AC is running at its best for these hot summer months. Plus, customers who bought a used vehicle from Hurl's get a lifetime warranty and reduced oil change prices. So get your appointment scheduled today by calling 785-890-0000. That's 890-0000 and ask for Dave. You're sure to get one of them.
Don't want to be tied down by a wireless contract? Get the service you deserve with NextTech Wireless Advance Pay. There's no contracts and no credit checks. Plus, you can get unlimited talk and text with 22 gigabytes of high-speed data for only $25 a month. Make the switch now and get a device on us. NextTech Wireless. Home on the range.
When you walk into your local Hoover Lumber Ace Hardware, you'll see that Nick and the staff have a little bit of everything for the warmer months ahead. Keep the lawn in shape with mowers, blowers, and trimmers from Craftsman, Toro, and Ego. Freshen up the look of a room or the whole place with Benjamin Moore paints. Keep the family fed and happy with grills from Traeger, Weber, and Blackstone. And be sure to take advantage of the lower lumber prices. Plus, they're looking for people to join their amazing teams at Hoover Lumber Ace Hardware, with locations in Goodland and Colby. Open every day but Sunday.
Your livelihood is important to you. You work hard to succeed in your farming operation, crop, livestock, home, vehicles, and special needs. We have you covered. Discounts are available for new business, remodeling, hail-resistive roofing, multi-policy, and many more. Optional coverage endorsements as well for machinery ingestion and equipment breakdown. Umbrella coverage for additional coverage on your home, farm, and auto. See the girls at the insurance agency at 1020 Main in Goodland or call 785-899-5011.
If you're shopping for a banking institution, visit with Equity Bank of Hoxie, Grinnell, and Quinter, Kansas. The Equity Bank is heavily invested in local business and activities contributing in many ways back to their community. Their employees are involved with many organizations and area events. Plus, a lot of experience comes with that staff. You'll find valuable local assistance when you bank at the Equity Bank of Hoxie, Grinnell, Quinter, and other locations in Western Kansas. The Equity Bank, member FDIC.
When Kansas storms knock the power out, many homes turn to portable generators. If you use a generator, don't risk a fire or shock. Follow the generator's instructions and plug appliances into your generator. Never connect your generator into your home's electric system unless a licensed electrician has installed a double throw switch. Lastly, only run your generator outside, away from doors or windows, never in a garage or carport. A safety message from Midwest Energy, a customer-owned cooperative making energy work for you.
Rise and shine. It's butt whipping time.
It's time for the Morning Blitz with Ross Volkmer.
That broadcast school has really paid off.
And Christian Peck-Dimit.
Do you want to keep this job? Shut up, listen, learn.
The region's only local sports talk show, discussing it all from the preps to the pros.
What time is it? Game time!
Simulcasting on AM 730 Fox Sports Tri-State, streaming online at nwksradio.net and the Rockingham app.
They are everywhere.
The Blitz is presented by the Insurance Agency, the Farmer State Bank in Oakley, the Cowboy Corner Express, and Equity Bank of Hoxie, Quinter, and Grinnell.
Stop what you're doing and listen. And a fly ball, right center field, well tagged. Suzuki's gonna watch it go. Home run on a 3-2 pitch. A walk-off for Brandon Lau.
Ready for Mean, hooks it into the left field corner and gone to put the Royals on the board in the 8th inning.
3-1 pitch and hit to left field. That's pretty well struck. Margot going back to the wall. It's gone. A line shot to left field for Ezekiel Tovar. His 11th home run. 2 were aboard. 3-run shot. 3-0 Rockies.
Line to third, step on the bag, double play. Michaelis works out of first and third, nobody out. And a liner to third, Arenado diving to the bag, ends the Pirates 7.
Boy, if you love baseball, yesterday was your day. That was your day if you love to watch baseball. There was nothing else on. There was no NBA. There was no NHL. No college baseball. So if you love the MLB, yesterday was your day. I bet Christian watched minuscule Major League Baseball yesterday.
There wasn't a lot of baseball watched yesterday for Christian. It's pickup basketball night. We don't have much
that's right.
time
Then
to watch.
we need an update. We need an update. How'd it go?
There was no update. Christian shoots a lot of threes, sort of a JJ Redick type of build. So if the shots fall, we have a good day, and if they don't, we have a bad day. And we had an okay day yesterday. There were only 8 people there, so it was 4-on-4, and everyone out here plays 4-on-4 full court, which I think is just ridiculous.
Got to get that cardio in, man. Got to run.
Yeah.
It should be no problem for a cardio expert like yourself. Should be no issue.
I'm not knocking it. I'm just saying halfway through a game, everybody's jogging, and it's not a game anymore when it's 4-on-4 full court.
How many people actually make it up and down the court 4-on-4, or one guy hangs behind?
That's what I'm saying.
How many people hang behind, and it becomes more like a 2-on-1 or something like that? That's what I want to know.
Exactly my point.
Yeah, see, that would drive me nuts too, so why even play? So
just play half court like normal people do. It's everyone out here. It's everybody. I can't figure it out.
I think you just need to adapt. Sounds like you're the only outlier. You just need to adapt. You need to adapt. You got to be that guy that hustles up and down the floor and spots up and actually hits the threes and not just throws them up there.
It doesn't make sense.
Like a lot of things in this world. Happy Wednesday morning, everybody. Welcome inside the Blitz here on what's going to be a very toasty Wednesday. Holy moly. Have you seen the high for today? Going to be pushing triple digits. 98 degrees the high today. Temperature is going to stay pretty much warm the rest of the week and into the weekend. We're going to see temperatures in the mid to upper 80s as the low, and highs reaching into the mid to upper 90s as the high. So if you've got a boat or access to water, this is your kind of weather, because it's going to be really, really hot. That is for sure this week. And luckily, though, from what I've seen, not a lot of storms, but just hot temps is what we're expecting to see coming down the pipe weather-wise for us. But glad you're with us here on this Wednesday morning, June the 12th. Eric Sorensen, again, our good friend from D1 Baseball, kind enough to join me, and we'll visit with him about the College World Series field as we are set to open that up on Friday. The Royals and the Rockies both played last night, as I mentioned, with a good night of Major League Baseball, which I watched a decent amount. I watched the Rockies get a little bit, or watched pieces of the Rockies get a win over the Twins. It got a little dicey at the end. They were up, 4-2, 4-0 at one point in time, then 4-2, then 5-2, thanks to a Ryan McMahon solo shot, which he absolutely crushed out into the part of the park where they were playing cornhole there at Target Field, which, by the way, Target Field is so beautiful on television. I've never been there. Couldn't tell you what it's like, but on TV, it looks like a beautiful ballpark. Same thing with PNC Park at Pittsburgh. Just looks like a beautiful ballpark. I've never been there. It just looks good on TV. But anyway, Rockies able to get a win. Royals smacked by I'm going to say the Dodgers, the Yankees, the other team, the other powerful team on the other coast. the Yankees last night, 10-1. But Bobby Witt Jr. did extend his hitting streak, though, to, I think, 11 or 12 straight games. So he has done that. But not a great call by our own Christian Peck-Dimit on the Brady Singer thought there.
I was about to say Brady Singer had not, and I guess has not, recorded a win. No, he picked up a loss last night, but he hadn't recorded a win or a loss, I think, since like the middle of May, and I kind of thought he was due, which I was confident enough to say, you know what, it's time. He's shutting down this Yankees lineup. He's been playing pretty good ball lately, throwing real well. I don't know. I had confidence in him that clearly did not pay off. Gave up 7 runs on 7 hits, 6 of them earned. 6 strikeouts though, but yeah, picks up his 3rd loss of the season, and the Royals sort of got spanked around.
It was not a good night for Brady Singer, that's for sure. Bobby Witt Jr., though, continues to have a pretty good...
Okay.
Did you happen to see that hit he had where it looked like just a typical single? He turned into a double?
I didn't, but I know that he does that.
He hit a ball
time.
over there into the right center field. Almost, it was more towards center field than right field, but kind of in the gap. He turned first and just took off and was able to slide in with a double there. So,
He's so fast.
He is amazingly fast. Is Bobby Witt Jr. That's for sure. And another quick shout out before we get to our first topic to get the opening segment going. But how about Cal Quantrill? Cal Quantrill. Remember we talked about him for the Rockies. Cal is probably the best pitcher that the Rockies have, but they wouldn't believe it. He picked up another win last night. He's 6-4. He is 6-4.
And we said it back when he was 5-4. How the hell do you have a winning record on this ball club? 6-4, a couple games above 500 as a pitcher here? Come on. You've got to, I mean, what, a quarter of their wins are yours as a pitcher? That's crazy.
Yeah. That's the thing. Cal Quantrill, 6-4, 6 innings, just 3 hits, no runs, 5 strikeouts. He has been their best pitcher this year, no matter what. It can be relief pitcher, starting pitcher. He's been the best. Yes, the bar is low, but he's been the best. He has been the best out of any of the Rockies pitchers. So, hey, when you're that bad of a team and you have that good and you have those good of numbers, that's good enough for an all-star appearance.
Yeah, that's very true. You take any win you can get, and yeah, I'd be surprised maybe. Tovar? I can't really think.
Tovar probably. Tovar or Diaz. Diaz is dinged up a little bit right now, but Elias Diaz has been good. Tovar has certainly been good. He had a 3-run bomb yesterday, so he's been very good. Hitting .292, that's pretty darn good. I don't know what the official numbers are on Ezekiel Tovar, but he's had a pretty darn good all-around season.
335 OPB.
He's got 11 homers, 31 RBIs. So, they're okay numbers. Not great.
No.
But
I'm just trying to think. You said all-star, and I'm trying to think.
He has certainly improved with the bat this year in comparison to his rookie season, which makes sense. He has improved. He's been just fine. So, yes, feeling good about the Rockies there. But I don't know. Shout out to Cal Quantrill because, man, he's done very, very well.
Yeah.
We did have a text here on the FNB Bank text line, 785-899-2222. Christian getting shouted out on the text line right now here this morning.
Hey,
shout out to this is from John saying, shout out to Christian for saying he had a feeling the Rockies were going to win yesterday. I put $10 on the money line after he said that and won 40. Way to go, John.
I'm glad someone is winning bets with my advice because I'm not winning bets with my advice.
He's not winning
Shout out to John. Well, I do have these sports books will throw free money at you to try to get you hooked. And I have a $25 free bet. So that's on Mavs -1.5 tonight.
We'll get to that coming up in our third segment. We will let Christian get his opinions and thoughts on the NBA Finals. This first segment today, which I wanted to touch on this because we keep on seeing, I think it's almost like every single day I see something kind of come out from CBS Sports or Athlon. They're previewing the upcoming college football season, and something has continued to stick out to me over the last couple of months from CBS Sports. So yesterday they put out the wide receiver group rankings, and then they put out the day before, the running back group rankings. And there was one team that stood out in all those. Now, don't get me wrong. There were teams, of course, that you would expect. Ohio State, Oregon, Georgia, all these other schools that you would expect Texas to be in the mix. of the great wide receiver group. We're talking about the group of wide receivers that each individual school has and the group of the running back room that each school has. It was, of course, you see all the top contenders. But there was one team that was in both the running back and the wide receiver spot, and that was Lance Leipold's Kansas Jayhawks. Right now, if you look at it, they're a top 5. They are considered to have the 4th best, I think it's the 4th best or 3rd best. Third best running back room, 3rd best running back room in the country. Only behind Georgia and Ohio State, which Ohio State has two NFL running backs in their backfield this year. But Kansas is considered to be the number 3 because, of course, Devin Neal, who's been fantastic, over the last 2 seasons, rushing over 2,300 yards and 25 touchdowns. He also has 53 career receptions and close to 500 receiving yards and 3 touchdowns. Then you have Daniel Highshaw, who's been great behind him with over 600 yards and 8 touchdowns. Both guys are great in the open field. They have amazing speed. They're also pretty darn tough to run between the tackles. And those 2 guys make up, according to CBS Sports, the 3rd best running back room in college football. And I thought, okay, that makes sense. I can see that. Good for them. Good deal. You can sometimes see a school that goes out there and gets a room on this rankings list. But then the following day, the wide receivers come out. And even though Kansas didn't make the top 5, they made the top 10 in wide receiver rooms with Lawrence Arnold, Quentin Skinner, and senior Luke Grimm. So you think about, and you want to add in the fact they did not make the quarterback room, but I bet if you were to possibly rank returning starting quarterbacks, you would probably say that Jalen Daniels would probably be in the top 15, top 10. Once again, you're kind of playing a little bit of a prediction game there because he was hurt last year a lot. But based upon his previous year and what we've seen him do, if he can go out there and have the success that he had in his sophomore campaign or 2 years ago, add in the mix with this backfield and these wide receivers, how good can this Kansas offense be? I mean, they're getting some national pub.
The answer, Ross, is very good. And you can sort of tell, and I'll be interested to see if the narrative after this over the next few weeks on Kansas changes, because we've seen the national narrative change on Kansas State, right? I mean, at least I have. We ended Kansas State's football season on a high note because today, and I know I'm talking about Kansas State after a question about Kansas, but the way it works, sadly, with the transfer portal now is by the time you get to the bowl game, you're basically starting all the guys that will probably start next year or have a chance to. And it was guys like Avery Johnson who stepped up big time for Kansas State, and they beat NC State, and that was big, and everyone sort of had this buzz with the Pop-Tarts and everything, and you're sort of thinking, nice, maybe we can compete near the top of the Big 12 next year if you're Kansas State. Maybe Avery Johnson can sort of fill that Will Howard role. And then you can slowly see over the course of the last few months how the national media has sort of started getting their hooks in Kansas State. Because over the last, 3-4 months, we've seen the narrative change from Kansas State can and should compete at the top of the Big 12 to Avery Johnson's going to be a Heisman candidate, and this team's going to be top 4 in the nation and all kinds of crazy stuff. And I'm not saying that they
I
won't.
don't want to say they're not going to be.
I'm not saying that there won't. You can just see a tangible change once national media starts picking things up and sort of cramming their storylines into things. Maybe that will change with Kansas, but I want to make this clear now. I have been very high on this team from the jump. You listed Devin Neal's stats, did Ross and Highshaw's, and they jump off the page and they speak for themselves. But the eye test is just as good for this KU backfield. I mean, Devin Neal is maybe one of the best make-you-miss guys in the open field in all of college football. I know that's a big statement to say, but he is that good, whether it's out of the backfield catching the football or as a traditional runner. And to have Highshaw on less than half of his touches, less than half of Neal's touches, put up very good yards as well, being just as efficient. I mean, to have a backup running back that you can feed the ball consistently, who averages 5.2 yards a carry, is amazing. That's a huge asset for you. And I think that the wide receiver room almost goes under the radar because this question of Kansas and how good they can be starts and ends, as it always has, with Jalen Williams or with
Jalen Daniels.
Jalen Daniels.
Jalen Williams.
Well, yeah, he's got his own things. Jalen Daniels is the question mark on this KU offense because we know he can be great, but we also know that back issues linger, and he really didn't play. He played in 3 games last year. He has the potential to elevate this offense to the next level into a Big 12 winning offense. I genuinely believe that. But when you return all 3 of your top wide receivers from last year, wide receivers, I may add, that made a backup and even at some points a third string quarterback look very good for KU last year. When you have those guys return on top of the running backs, you almost give Jalen Daniels a cushion to sort of ease back into that starting role because you have so many veterans around him. The hype has been with Kansas State, as it should be, but I think Kansas is right up there with them at the top of the Big 12.
Devin Neal was number 16 in the country in rushing last year, so top 20 with 16 rushing touchdowns and over 1,200 yards last year for Devin Neal. Both Kansas and Kansas State are in the same boat. They both have very athletically gifted quarterbacks, guys who can throw it, guys who can run, very high talent athletes. The key will be for their respective offensive quarterback or offensive coordinators and systems to say, what can we do and what can't we do with these guys? We want to do everything. We want them to run the ball. We want them to throw the ball. We want them to be dynamic. But if we want them to play the whole year, how do we go about doing that? To me, that is going to be the biggest thing for both. There's going to be times where you're going to say, gosh, I want to run this guy. I want to run him 10 times this game, and sometimes you can get away with that. But, both Avery Johnson and Devin Neal have to be distributors of the ball. And as we see with Kansas, for example, sorry, what did I say?
Devin Neal.
Devin Neal. Sorry.
Hey, if he could pass the ball, even better.
Jalen Daniels and Avery Johnson need to be distributors of the ball. They need to just say, we're going to put the ball in the hands of our great running backs, whether that be, of course, for Devin Neal in Kansas, for its DJ Giddens at Kansas, who, by the way, was a top 20 running back last year in stats. And of course, they got, why can't I think of his name from Colorado this year? Thank you, Dylan Edwards. So give the ball to the backs and then make the passes that you need to the wide receivers that you need to, or tight ends. So my question was, how good could this offense be? I don't know. Once again, the question comes down to, for me, because I believe they have playmakers in the backfield. And Kansas has playmakers on the outside, maybe a little bit more than what Kansas State does at the wide receiver room right now. But they both have. But my question will be, who can protect their quarterback the best? Whether that is scheme designed or how good your line play is. Both teams, Kansas and Kansas State, did take quite a hit on the offensive line due to graduation or the draft. They lost some key guys. Mm-hmm. And so that will be difficult to replace. Kansas lost a multi-year starter that transferred from Buffalo to be with Lance Leipold. He's no longer there. They got to replace him. They got to transfer in to fill that spot. But they've got some holes to fill on the offensive line. So does Kansas State. And both those teams have had great success running the ball because of their offensive lines. How will that look here this year? And both teams have new offensive coordinators. Andy Koltanecki went to Penn State from Kansas, and of course Colin Klein left K-State to go to Texas A&M. Both have new OCs. How will it look for these teams? There's a lot of question marks, but the pieces, the clay is there to be molded. How do you go about molding it?
Ross, you're hitting the nail on the head because those were the 2 points that I was going to bring up, is the shift at O-line and the new OCs, because those seem to be sort of the things that are in flux for both of these teams, Kansas and K-State. I think in both situations, Kansas may be in a little bit better of a position. K-State certainly with their OC. I really do believe in Kansas. I do. I think they sort of put it together, and I know that Ross is very confident in this idea of protecting your quarterback by running him less, and I'm with that. I think both of them, Jalen Daniels and Avery Johnson, are dynamic enough playmakers that if you find ways to get the ball out of their hands quickly and avoid running them, you're almost wasting an extra level to this offense.
I hear you. I'm not trying to say, by the way, that they should not run the ball. I'm just saying you got to really pick your spots. You know, there's going to be times in games where nothing is working. Like, boy, we could run the quarterback here 15, 20 times and we could win this game. And sometimes it may require to do that, but you're going to risk yourself. You got to find a way to turn around. Sometimes you just get tempted by things in life. You just do. And what'll happen as an offensive coordinator, you're like, man, I know we could turn around and run the ball with this guy and get 2 yards or 3 yards, or we could throw this little quick slant over here to this guy and maybe get a couple yards, but we could run the quarterback more and more and run and gain a whole bunch of yards, maybe score 2 more touchdowns per game. Okay, I get that, but for the safety and the longevity of your team for the entire season, how you go about and just saying it's a balancing act. How do we go about making sure that we get the big plays in the running game with our quarterback, but he is still available for us all 12 games, 13 games this season to have the success we want to have?
And we are very far from the start of the season, so this is, a prediction that
80
may
days,
change.
80 days, pretty much. 80 days. Not that far.
I love that you know that off the top of your head, but that doesn't seem as far when you put it like that. But we're still a while from first kickoff, and this is a prediction that may change. I do think Avery Johnson and K-State will be a little bit more drawn into that, maybe running him a little too much, just because, like we talked about, Kansas has a plethora of weapons in the passing game, more so by a decent margin than K-State does. I think when and if they struggle to pass the ball and get air yards going, they sort of are going to feel that temptation, as Ross put it, to draw an extra linebacker into the box, run some read options with Avery Johnson to try to open up the passing game. I think that's good. I do sort of, to a far lesser extent, share Ross's fear, especially with Avery Johnson, because of his thinner frame, of overrunning a quarterback. But needless to say, both of these offenses, KU and K-State, we can argue, as we sort of have been, who's going to be better. But needless to say, both of them, I genuinely think these two teams will be, along with Utah, top 3 in the Big 12. And it could really just come down to the head-to-head matchups between them for who takes the cake.
Both teams were top 20 offenses last year. Kansas State was number 10 in the country. Kansas was number 17. And with all the pieces returning, once again, for both sides, you would expect them to be probably top 25 offenses again. Once again, and part of it, part of the reason why I guess I trust Kansas a little bit more is Jalen Daniels has been here before, and he knows that I can't do this or I shouldn't do this. Avery Johnson, this is going to be his first year starting the full season. You're going to learn it. He's going to do some things that are going to be like, wow, that was amazing. You're like, don't like that. Don't do that again, please, Avery. There's going to be some moments like that this year. Just get prepared. But that's what he's going to learn. He's going to learn. It'll be fun.
There's a learning curve.
But I just, once again, my original point of this whole story was not even really to talk about Kansas State, but just how much love Kansas and Kansas State are getting from the national media on the groups that they have. KU in particular, getting the love that they in the backfield with their running back room and their wide receiver room, and both being top 10 in the country, not just in the Big 12, in the country, which is amazing. Avery Johnson, of course, getting that love we talked about yesterday about being guys that we expect to have breakout seasons from CBS Sports, which is really cool to see. Guys just getting a lot of love. I hope they can live up to it. It'll be fascinating to find that out.
I mean, you guys know it out here. Kansas football especially, but these sort of middle of the country, middle America teams don't always get the love that everyone else does. It sort of seems like it's just the impetus for us talking about KU football, but Ross is right. It is a big deal for Kansas to be recognized as a top 3 running back room. And yeah, maybe it seems like, oh, obviously Devin Neal's that good and Highshaw's that good. But for everyone, especially the national media guys who love to just say, look at Ohio State, look at Georgia again, for them to recognize KU's right up there with the big dogs, that's a big deal. Or maybe it shouldn't be, but it is.
It is. First of all, it's a big deal for Kansas because of where they were just less than 5 years ago.
Mm-hmm.
Let's just remember, they were in the doghouse of college football. You know, when conference realignment was going along, people were talking like, what is Kansas going to do? Because no one's going to want them. They're one of the worst Division I programs in the country. And what's their basketball program going to do when they get stuck in some mediocre conference somewhere? That was all the talk for a while. So, I mean, and now look at them. Now Lance Leipold in his short time there has been fantastic. He's gotten the right pieces in. He's made the right coaching decisions. His system works, and they're having success. And I think they will continue to have success going forward underneath Lance Leipold. And this year could be another big year with Jalen Daniels, who, once again, another reminder, folks, last year was the Big 12 preseason offensive quarterback and the offensive player of the year. He was first team. He didn't have that type of season because he was injured. But if he can play to that potential with the weapons that they have, this could be maybe a top 10 offense. We'll see. Once again, on the FB Bank text line, before we get to break, Michael chiming in, Rock Chalk, let's get this PS5 College Football 25 game, all right? Yeah, I would agree. I would agree. I can't wait till mid-July, when that comes out. That's going to be super exciting. For the guy who's played it his whole life, you know, I'm excited for New Edition.
In my head, I'd never really imagined Ross as a big video game guy, but I'm sort of excited to see. Do you have an Xbox or a PS5? What are we?
I have an Xbox at this point in time, but
because rumor has it there's not or won't be, at least in the early running, cross-platform play. So PS5.
I think on Dynasty mode you can't do cross-platform.
On Dynasty, yeah, I think that might be it.
The other stuff, I think you can, like just a game, you can, but not Dynasty. I don't think.
Gotcha.
But,
I'm just making sure.
No, you're right.
I've
done a lot of reading on this. It's amazing how much The Athletic and everybody else has followed this game coming out.
Know it's a big
all
deal
these
to
people were growing up the same age I were, so we were big video gamers.
I'm just saying, I would love to see a morning blitz matchup.
All right, I'm fine with that. I can do that.
You can live stream it.
Got to get some. There you go. We can live stream it. Got to get some practice on the sticks. Just run it down your throat constantly all game. What's going to happen?
I would expect nothing less.
I hope they make a college baseball game. They did that back.
That might not go as well for Christian.
Anyway, I hope they make a college baseball game. I look forward to hopefully that returning at some point in time. Speaking of college baseball, Eric Sorensen joins the show next. You're listening to the Morning Blitz.
Don't let spring allergies make you miserable. Try the quick, drug-free solution trusted by over 4 million people. Navage. Only Navage uses suction to flush out your sinuses using refreshing saline, helping you breathe easier, sleep better, and feel healthier. And here's even better news. Navage is now available at your local Sam's Club in a great new value pack. It's everything you need to start breathing better immediately at Sam's guaranteed best price. Navage, Navage, breathe easy.
With T-Mobile, you can get tons of benefits and still save. It's like getting romance and sci-fi.
I love you. Also, I'm a robot.
With T-Mobile, you can save on every plan versus AT&T and Verizon. See how with our savings calculator at T-Mobile.com/switch. Plus, we'll pay off your locked AT&T phone up to $650, and you'll get a new 5G phone for free.
Pay out via virtual prepaid card in 15 days. Free phone up to $830 via 24 monthly bill credits with qualifying planning credit plus tax and $35 connection charge. Contact us before canceling to continue bill credits or they stop and required finance agreement balance is due. See T-Mobile.com.
It's time for a check of the markets with the Anderson Trade Group on the Kansas Farm and Ranch Radio Network.
Good morning. This is Kate Thompson with the Anderson's Trade Group. Today is Tuesday, June 11th. And on the overnights last night, July corn traded higher a cent at 4.52 3/4. September up a cent at 4.57 1/4. December up 1 3/4 at 4.70, and March corn up 1 3/4 at 4.82. July soybeans lower on the overnights at 11.84 3/4. August down 3.5 at 11.79 1/4. September down 2 1/4 at 11.56, and November beans down 3/4 at 11.58. Chicago wheat July contract higher 3 on the overnights at 6.11. September up 4 at $6.34 3/4. December up 4 1/4 at $6.63 1/4. And March soft wheat up 4 1/2 at $6.84 1/2. Kansas City wheat July contract lower 1 on the overnight at $6.41 1/4. September down 1 3/4 at $6.54 3/4. December down 1 1/2 at $6.75. And March hard wheat down 1 3/4 at $6.89 1/2. On the stock market this morning, the Dow down $157 at 38,773. The S&P down 16 at 5,354. The Nasdaq down 57 at 19,052. Gold higher $9 at 2,336, and crude oil up just a couple of cents a barrel at 77.76. If you have any questions about marketing grain and would like to talk about risk management options, give our Colorado office a call. John Hankey at 970-744-4484, or in our Kansas City office, myself, Tom Sluto, Jared Law, or Tyler Dosh at 913-748-3000.
There are a lot of inconsistencies when growing soybeans. The soil, the weather, the market. You need something you can count on, like Revitech fungicide from BASF. It consistently out-yields other fungicides by up to 9.5 bushels per acre, consistently wins in on-farm head-to-head comparisons, and consistently makes for happy farmers. Revitech fungicide. Visit revxfields.com for full results. Always read and follow label directions. Yield data based on summary of 2019 through 2022 Revex field scale demonstration trials.
Today, we're talking with aphids and whiteflies about Safina insecticide from BASF.
We just got nailed with it.
So tell us, how you feeling?
Really, really weird.
And you still want to devour this field?
No way, bro.
There you have it, folks. Safina insecticide is specifically engineered to disorient aphids and whiteflies, so they can't eat. And when they can't eat, they can't destroy.
Help protect your sorghum from aphids with Safina insecticide. Always read and follow label direction.
Back
to where you once belonged.
to the Morning Blitz with Ross Volkmer.
We continue on a Wednesday morning. Thanks again for tuning in. We got lots of ways for you to catch the show nowadays. Of course, 1025 URock, AM 730 Fox Sports Tri-State, the Rockingham app. Also, of course, NWKSradio.net. Of course, the Hurl Chevrolet GMC video stream is up and rolling as well. So plenty of ways to catch the show each and every day, Monday through Friday, 8 to 9 Central, 7 to 8 Mountain Time. Let's talk some college baseball. Our good friend Eric Sorensen stopping by once again to visit with us about the upcoming College World Series field. Eric, it seems like it's just been a couple weeks ago we started talking again this year, and we're already at the College World Series. We're down to 8 teams. Where has the time gone?
Yeah, no doubt, man. Yeah, Ross, this is always kind of a weird time of year for me because you're excited about going to the College World Series, and of course I love going back to where I grew up in Omaha, but at the same time, there's only 8 teams left. It's not like I can go out tomorrow and go see a D2 game somewhere near me here in California, or go see, LMU play, which is just a mile from my house. So yeah, it's kind of a bummer that we know it's coming to an end, but this is a very good part of the season, obviously.
No, it is great, and it should be a very interesting College World Series with 4 teams from the SEC and 4 teams from the ACC. I just keep thinking about that sign that's in Omaha where they have this many miles with an arrow pointing to this town and this many miles to this town pointing in that direction. They're all going to be in a 90-degree angle for the most part between Texas A&M and Charlottesville, Lexington. It's all from the southeast.
Yeah, I have mixed emotions about it, of course, because as you know, spending some time in Omaha, as a kid, I just remember teams from all over. That was the one thing that was really cool to me. Is like, you got Cal State, these schools you never heard of, Cal State Fullerton. You had a Eastern Michigan, or you had a James Madison, or Maine in the 80s came around and played a bunch up there. And it was like, that is so cool to see Maine play. And then another year there'd be Hawaii. And the way college baseball is going, obviously, the schools in the Power Five, or certainly the SEC, ACC, they've got the money to really emphasize it and to become stronger than most conferences. I'm not going to say the Coastal Carolinas or the Fresno States or the Pepperdines or the UC Santa Barbaras are going to go away completely. I think they're still going to have those happen. I just wonder how much it'll happen from now on, just because of the way the sport is leaning.
Yeah, I was kind of curious, being that it's so weird. I mean, it's not so weird to see non-northern teams, but to have nobody from California or Arizona just seems so weird to not have anybody from that part of the world represented. I would agree. It's so much better when I think you get a good mix of teams from all over the country. Do you ever think we'll get back to a time like that?
Yeah, geez, I don't know. I just don't know. The whole thing with the USC, UCLA moving on to the Big Ten, Arizona, Arizona State, Utah moving to the Big 12, Oregon State being, I guess, an independent, and Washington State being independents next year. Yeah, that's just going to change things so much. I've already heard a few rumblings about people saying, I don't know if I'll go to this school, meaning Oregon or Washington, UCLA, or USC, because I want my friends or parents, I want them to see me play and not have to go on the road a lot of times to play. I'm going to be taking so many road trips. So thank college football for that. Obviously, it's kind of ruined everything else for everybody. And like UCLA football coach Chip Kelly said at the time last year, he was kind of like, this isn't right. UCLA should be playing Arizona for conference games. USC should be playing Washington State for conference games. That's just. But yeah, so I'm not sure what it's going to be like, and how much it's going to hurt some of these schools, these programs for college baseball that are out here near me in Los Angeles and up the West Coast. It's going to be interesting to see. And I think I've told you before, I'm not too worried about like Oregon State because they really emphasize the sport. They get really good followings, and Oregon's kind of the same way. They built a really state-of-the-art stadium. But some of the other ones I worry a little bit about. UCLA, they got kind of a rinky-dink stadium. USC is building a new stadium, and they're playing all road games for the next 2 years, which is really going to hurt them too. So, that's going to be interesting and weird at the same time to see all these teams go into different conferences and how it affects this part of the country.
Eric Sorensen from D1 Baseball joining us on the Hoover Hotline as we talk about the Men's College World Series, which is going here on Friday. Before we get to the CWS on Friday, what did you think of the Super Regional round? I know one thing that stood out to me is I saw a lot of teams, for some reason, I don't know why, just didn't do the little things right. Oregon State not being able to get a timely hit at Kentucky. Kansas State with some weird defensive mishaps, and Oregon blowing massive leads down there at Texas A&M. Just some nutty things in the Supers.
Yeah, those two things really it bummed me out. I wanted to see the Pac-12 get at least one last hurrah in Omaha before it goes the way of the Buffalo. It was weird to see some of these things happen. And when I saw the Oregon Ducks play at UC Santa Barbara last week, they held Santa Barbara in 2 games against Santa Barbara, which has a very SEC-like batting order. They're very strong. They look like linebackers going up there. They got a lot of power. They held that UC Santa Barbara team to 1 run on 8 hits in 2 games. And I was thinking, man, if Oregon's pitches like this, or if they get early leads, A&M's going to be in real trouble. And they got early leads. Oregon had led by a crooked number in both of those games. But A&M's offense is just too strong. I thought if Oregon pitched like they did in Santa Barbara, they'd win. And they didn't quite. But I think more of that might have had to do with Texas A&M just having so much power and just such a good 1 through 9. That was kind of a thing. And of course, being in your listening area, I remember last week I was telling you, I really kind of hoped Kansas State would come through because that would have been another interesting team from the North make it to Omaha. They've never been there, I don't believe. And I would have loved to have seen that. They played pretty good at times, but just not consistent enough. And just to get back to your original point, that it seemed like it was, 6 home teams won out of the Super Regionals. So you had a lot of home cooking this week. Florida and NC State were the only road teams that actually won.
Well, when you look at the field of 8, despite it being 4 ACC, 4 SEC teams, what do you think of this overall field as we get ready for Omaha starting Friday?
Yeah, it's a pretty strong field, I think, obviously, because it's a little weird, though. I'll say it this way, Ross. It's a strong field because you do have your Tennessee at number 1, Kentucky number 2 seed, A&M, I think they were a 3 seed. Virginia was in the top 8. And Florida, even though they had kind of a crap year for the most part, they were preseason number 2. So they're finally playing up to that. But if you had told me at the beginning of the season, hey, there's going to be 4 SEC, 4 ACC in the College World Series, I would have thought, oh, okay, well, that includes number 1 Wake Forest. That includes national champion LSU again. That includes Arkansas, probably the best pitching staff in the country, or possibly the best pitching staff in the country. And it doesn't include any of those teams. So you still had some upsets happening. You still had some things happen that kind of went a little off script. But again, for the most part, I think a lot of it comes down to a lot of the top seeds made it to Omaha. And I really thought it was going to be more chaos this year than it was, just because there was no dominant number 1 team all the way through. Even though Tennessee is a really good number 1, Kentucky proved that they're a really good number 2, A&M a really good number 3. So yeah, it's going to be a strong field this year for sure.
What teams do you think have the advantage, at least looking at them on paper?
Well, I think actually I'll kind of answer it this way, Ross. I look a little bit of it being off paper, if that's a phrase, because I look at Tennessee, I look at Virginia, and I look at Florida as the 3 teams that were here in Omaha last year. And I still think it doesn't guarantee success. I mean, obviously you've had teams like Coastal Carolina, Fresno State win College World Series without ever having been there practically for the most part. But I still think those 3 teams going in, having that experience from last year, even though Virginia went 0-2, I want to say Tennessee went 1-2. But Florida, they made it all the way to the championship series. And like I said, they're playing up to their potential finally after 5 months of playing middle of the road ball. So I give a slight advantage to those teams just with the experience that's kind of hard to duplicate. It's kind of, I really worry about how like Kentucky does, because they've never been there before. This is all new for them. And they got a great team, but it wouldn't shock me if they face planted and went 0-2. It wouldn't shock me if they played all the way to the championship series. And I think another interesting side note is NC State coming back. We all remember 2021 where they had the COVID thing happen. They played 1 game with 13 players, and then the next game they just had to forfeit. So I thought they were playing the best baseball in Omaha at that time before they had to give up those games. I thought they were going to be the national champions that year. So we'll see if they kind of right the ship and get a few breaks here and get Elliot Avent his national title before he rides off in the sunset.
D1 Baseball's Eric Sorensen joining us here on the Hoover Hotline. Florida is a team that I know we've talked about a lot, and how you were very stunned about how, they didn't have a great regular season. They should have been in the tournament. Well, now they're in the final 8 in the men's College World Series. I'm not saying that you were wrong, but I mean, what has changed for them to make it to this point?
Yeah, no, look, I was completely wrong. You can say it, because they were the one team out of those 13 and 17 SEC teams that I didn't think deserved to get into the NCAA tournament, I should say. They were the one team that proved that narrative wrong. They proved that maybe I still don't think they deserved a bid, but they certainly played way better than they had been playing. Because you look at it, and getting back to being on paper, they have the weakest offense in Omaha at 272. And they have the weakest pitching staff with an ERA above 6. So you can tell those are remnants of a season that was just not a regular season that just was not that good. But you know what? You still look at that lineup and you say, okay, Jack Caglione is still on the team. He's the best hitter and he's one of the better pitchers. Ty Evans is still on the team. That's, Tyler Shelnut is still, these are still talents that are going to be really good professional players soon, that just didn't play well early, but now they are. And so it's hard to bet against them just because they still have a good talent level. It's just that they didn't put it together for, like I said, almost 5 full months. So yeah, they're a dangerous team to go into Clemson and win 2 games straight away. And yeah, they gave up a lot of runs, but boy, they sure got a big hit every time they seemed like they needed it. So tough team to pick against, even though they on paper are the weakest team of the 8.
In all your years of covering the CWS, what usually stands out to help lead a team? Is it their pitching depth? Is their offensive power? What, in your opinion, stands out?
Oh, here's the thing. I can answer that one easily. To me, it's always to find like one player that really didn't do a lot or didn't do great all season, and all of a sudden he comes into a clutch situation and kills it for him. Like, and I know this is going way back, but I'm going to 1994 with Chip Glass at at Oklahoma. Sorry, he was just like 250 hitter all season long. And in the College World Series, he was the MVP of the College World Series and helped them to a national title. And if you remember last year, even with LSU, you had Thatcher Hurd, a pitcher transfer from UCLA, who his ERA was like 6.8 something going into the College World Series. But in the College World Series, he put together 2 really good pitching performances. So to me, it's kind of whichever team has a player come out of the woodwork, do something a little extra. In fact, we kind of had that a little bit because Braden Montgomery got injured for Texas A&M over the weekend. But Caden Kent replaced him, and this was a guy that had 70 at-bats all season, and he hits the go-ahead grand slam against Oregon in the second game. So you kind of had that happen for Texas A&M already. But yeah, I think once you get to Omaha, if you have a player or 2 or 3 step up that you didn't count on or didn't have a lot of reps during the season, that's kind of the thing that seems to be the X factor for winning the College World Series.
Eric Sorensen, D1 Baseball on the Hoover Hotline. A couple more for you here real quickly. Players to watch for those who maybe haven't followed along as closely as you and I have, some players to watch in Omaha.
Yeah, well, obviously, I think you start with Florida, Jack Caglione. He's built like a linebacker, maybe I should say like a tight end. Tall dude, big, strong, and he was second in the nation in home runs. And he's a pitcher for them on the weekends this year. He's going to be one of the top players taken in the draft. I think, Vance Honeycutt of North Carolina, another guy that's probably going in the top 10 or 15 of the draft. And he helped them make it to Omaha with an average by hitting 26 home runs, I should say. And I also look like at NC State, Sam Highfill is a name to keep in mind. He's a pitcher, starting pitcher. He pitched on that 2021 team for NC State, and he's now an elder statesman on that team. And it'll be interesting to see how he does in his outing. I think being experienced of being at the College World Series before will really help. And then finally, at Tennessee, I mean, practically their whole starting batting order is worth keeping an eye on. But Christian Moore is the guy that hit 32 home runs for them. They've got, let me count it, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8 guys that hit double-digit home runs this year. But Christian Moore is the guy that really leads them with 32 home runs. He's going to be another one that's going to be drafted next month, and it's going to go really high in the draft.
All right, a couple more quick ones. Who's going to hold the record this year for the Jell-O shots at Rocco's? Which school will that be? That's the first one.
Yeah. Those things are so gross. But yeah, you know what? I bet it'll probably be an SEC team that brings the most fans. And right now, it's kind of weird because this year you don't have LSU, Mississippi State, or Ole Miss. Those are the 3 schools, especially in the SEC, that bring the most fans. And it's kind of a pain in the ass from a media standpoint. But this year, I would guess Texas A&M. They're probably going to have the most fans there, more than likely. If not them, maybe Tennessee. Those will be the Jell-O shot champions.
And what is the biggest thing that Eric Sorensen likes to do when he's in Omaha? Is it Zestos? Is it the Drover? What do you like to do when you're there?
Well, if you're my wife, you'll probably complain and say, all you want to do is drive by your old high or your old elementary school, your old junior high, and go to where you have the Bridge Park where you guys used to hang out and drink beer. But actually, it is going to the Drovers, my favorite. I also love when you're in Omaha, you got to do a Runza run, and you have to go to Sortino's Pizza. Those are the 3 things I like probably the most of the places to go to. And then, of course, just seeing some old friends from many eons ago, and just because from growing up there as a kid, I still see some of my old friends that still live in the area.
Great stuff. Once again, Eric Sorensen, D1 Baseball. Eric, thanks again for the time. Enjoy Omaha. We'll catch up hopefully next week.
Yeah, man. Let's do it again, Ross.
Once again, Eric Sorensen there on the Hoover Hotline. Good stuff there with him. Let's take our final break back to wrap things up with the NBA and some breaking news as well here on the Blitz.
Your livelihood is important to you. You work hard to succeed in your farming operation, crop, livestock, home, vehicles, and special needs. We have you covered. Discounts are available for new business, remodeling, hail-resistive roofing, multi-policy, and many more. Optional coverage endorsements as well for machinery ingestion and equipment breakdown. Umbrella coverage for additional coverage on your home, farm, and auto. See the girls at the insurance agency at 1020 Main in Goodland or call 785-899-5011.
Whether you're buying your first house or your retirement dream home, we know the importance of getting a mortgage you can live with. At F&B Bank, our goal is to make your financing search quick and enjoyable, from the terms to the personal attention along the way. Give me, Brett Lampy, a call at 785-890-5616 to apply today. F&B Bank, member FDIC, equal housing lender.
The Farmers State Bank of Oakley has been financing agriculture since the day we opened our doors. Hello, this is Corbin, and we are proud to be your locally owned partner in ag. We invite you to come and visit with us when you need to purchase new or used farm equipment, or need any type of agriculture or business loan. We have the knowledge, experience, and financial resources to keep you growing. The Farmers State Bank of Oakley, a tradition of community and agriculture for over 115 years. Member FDIC.
KKCI, Goodland, Colby. This is the classic rock station for the tri-state area. 102.5, You Rock, a rocking and media station.
A three-run walk-off home run. A game-winning walk-off with a walk-off. His second walk-off hit of the season. In walk-off fashion, that baby's gone.
Breaking news during the interview there. Jerry West, the logo, has passed away at the age of 86. I have to admit, they were talking about the logo a few days ago, and I thought, boy, it's amazing. Because I was watching that HBO series about the Lakers winning time and, how he was portrayed, and he hated that and all that. And so I'm like, man, Jerry West is still kicking now. Got dead at the age of 86. So the logo passed away. There'll be a lot of that talked about tonight in Game 3 of the NBA Finals between the Celtics and the Mavericks. You have the Mavericks. You said you're putting your money on the Mavs, right, in Game 3?
I think that the Mavs are still alive in this series, as crazy as that is to say. I think they are much closer than people think to clicking here and to being better. The last time a team was down 0-2 in the finals, it ended pretty bad for that team that was up 0-2 over a European superstar. That's all I'm going to say. I've got the Mavs. I think when you have a team shooting as poorly from 3 as the Mavs have in game 1 and 2, it's easy to look as bad as they have.
How big of a loss if Porzingis doesn't play?
He was quoted as saying he'd rather die than not play, and maybe he'll die. I don't know. It's a big loss. I think if he plays, he'll be less than 100%, and I think that's more of an interesting thing to follow.
Christian's got the Mavericks tonight. I'm sticking with the Greens. I'm sticking with the Kelly Greens in Game 3. That'll do it for our show here today. Thanks to Eric Sorensen. Thanks to you for listening. We're back tomorrow on The Blitz.